entertainmentbuilder.com.
Hey now everyone, Matt Haywood here, and we are back, and by we, I mean my man Nick C. We're back with another Star Wars Time show. We hoped to do one last week, but guess what? There's a thing called running a website, and to run a website you need a server, and our server has been fucked with a capital F for the past really since May 18th. But anyways, we're here, screw the server, we're getting a Star Wars Time show out, and we're going to talk about the Vanity Fair article that dropped, about a week and a half ago at this point, because it had some pretty eye-opening information about Star Wars The Last Jedi. So that's going to be our main focus. We're just going to talk about the big parts of that article that need discussing between Nick and I. So, Nick, you ready to do this, buddy?
Yeah, man, let's jump in. I mean, this Vanity Fair article is definitely, as they say in the title, the definitive, look at the Last Jedi.
Yeah, it was pretty big, and reasons for that is two of the new characters. We finally got a look at them and concrete details. And we're talking about Benicio del Toro's character as well as Laura Dern's, who we now know Benicio goes by, and I still think there's a lot of mystery behind this, Nick. He goes by what the cast and crew called him, in quotes, DJ.
Yeah, so that was one of those things that was leaked in
and it was legit. Yeah,
article.
So making Star Wars, as much as we sometimes make fun of them, they get their shit right.
Yeah, they hit it on the head. I mean, we all thought that, DJ is probably just some sort of fill-in name, but apparently that's actually his name. And I mean,
but did you notice, though, in the article that they emphasized, that's what the cast and crew called him, quotes. So this guy, I think, is shrouded in mystery.
DJ, could it stand for Darth? Something with a J, maybe if you see the pictures of him, he obviously does not look like a Sith, but DJ could be an acronym of some sort for his actual character's name, or it could just be one of those things to keep his real identity and mystery amongst the
the picture they provided, he looks like someone Han Solo would have hung out with, right?
Yeah, definitely looks like a scoundrel type of person.
Yeah, by the way, just Del Toro, he's perfect for this type of character, right? You just look at him, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, he fits the aesthetic of this character perfectly. We don't know exactly what he's doing or anything too much about his character, but just looking at him and the setting that he's in and the images that we see, or the image of him that we see in this Vanity Fair article, Benicio del Toro fits right into that role. He looks like a natural.
I still think it's curious, though, that DJ isn't his actual name. Is there still hope he's Ezra Bridger? Maybe. I think that door is still open at this point. I don't think it's going to be likely, but...
anything's still possible. Like we said, since DJ is not his, it might not be what he's referred to as in the movie. We could make the leap to say that he could still be Ezra.
Well, if anything, it's not his real name. We know that. Yeah. We know he is not a DJ. That's just what he's listed in the script and possibly in dialogue in the movie, but that's not his real name.
Yeah, for sure. So it was cool to get a look at him, and especially, now that we talked about him a little bit, the image that they had of Laura Dern's character I thought was excellent. With the purple hair.
Yeah,
purple
to
dress.
Me, honestly, the first thing I saw was Hunger Games.
Yeah, I know, right? She looks like Effie Trinket, like the character that Elizabeth Banks
She looks
played.
like one of the more affluential characters in the Hunger Games. Someone that lived in the capital, if you will. But as Nick said, her title is Vice Admiral. So, Nick, and I was going to do a less than 12 parsecs on this, but, the nightmare occurred and all the server bullshit, but... As a Vice Admiral, is she higher ranking than General Leia?
I think that, I mean, it's so weird because, I mean, if you know, like, military terminology, then, like, Admiral is something that is, like, you know, a very high rank.
Well, it kind of, I mean,
Navy.
an admiral essentially equates to a general, but with aquatic forces, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, to me, I still think that General Leia is probably above her. But this woman is definitely, you know, Vice Admiral Amelin Holdo is Laura Dern's character's full name. She is definitely going to play a huge part in the Resistance now that she's come into the fray, and it's very possible, due to Carrie Fisher's untimely passing, that, you know, Laura Dern's character could become the new
that's a
de
great
facto
point.
leader of the Resistance.
No, I mean, honestly, Nick, that I didn't really even think about that, but I think, I mean, depending on where her arc goes in The Last Jedi, I think you're dead on. I think she may become more of a prominent character in 9 than initially intended.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first thought. When I saw the reveal for this character, I was like, oh man, so this is going to be basically the new, you know, Leia. Now that, you know, and it's interesting to see that they brought her in 8, because really if they had, you know, narratively planned to, you know, maybe kill Leia in episode 9, they could have waited an extra movie to bring in a character like this. But to know that a character as big as a Vice Admiral in the Resistance is coming in episode 8, and it's also being played by a very well-known actress in Laura Dern, it could point to her becoming a very big part of the franchise and the upcoming films.
I mean, don't you kind of look at her as more of a Mon Mothma than a Leia? You know, more of a traditional politician versus someone that may get, you know, boots on the ground, dirty.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, if you've seen this image, and I assume that most of the people listening to the podcast have read through the Vanity Fair article and seen the quite frankly incredible images that are in it, she definitely looks more like a desk type of personality, or, you know, the type of person who's I
don't see her on the front line. I don't even see her wearing Leia's outfit from episode 7, you know, the vest, the kind of the mechanic outfit.
Yeah,
she seems kind of hoity-toity.
Yeah, I would wonder if she played any sort of role within the governmental structure of the new Galactic Republic,
which
like before,
was decimated in Force Awakens, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be really cool to see, like, you know, to get some backstory on her, some further backstory on her, to learn exactly where she came from and, you know, where she's going. But she definitely does have the Mon Mothma feel, even down to the, like, you know, the dressing that she's wearing. I mean, obviously it's not white like Mon Mothma's was, but it's still like this flowing dress that we're always used to seeing on Mon Mothma.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, really those two characters to me were the kind of the biggest reveals from this article, because we've only heard things, we haven't seen anything, so actually seeing the characters was pretty huge. But there's some other good stuff in this article. I mean, a lot of it focused on Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher and their dynamic and their characters. And I like the piece on Hamill where it's essentially saying that, I mean, he really is going to be, I don't want to say the star of The Last Jedi, but, I mean, he's going to be a very, very, very prominent character.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that they mentioned, like, specifically in the article, is that Rian Johnson wanted to focus on
Luke
Skywalker.
When he sat down, it basically said when he sat down to write the script, because, by the way, people, he not only directed it, but he more or less wrote the story, and Lucasfilm approved it, so that's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, Rian Johnson is an incredible filmmaker, an incredible storyteller. If you've seen Looper, I mean, it was a great movie, but he's definitely put in the work in this movie, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. You know what is interesting to me? Like, pretty much right after this article released, you had a bunch of these articles coming out from different outlets, small, big, no matter any size, and they're all saying, like, you know, Mark Hamill says he didn't like the direction that Rian Johnson had for Luke Skywalker, and they tried to make it into this big sensationalized piece about like, Mark Hamill disagrees with what's happening to Luke Skywalker and what could this mean for Star Wars and everything like that. But in reality, I think it's that, Hamill has been playing Luke Skywalker for, how long now? 1976, it's 2017.
Yeah, like a million years. We'll just do the math. We did the math, it's a million.
Yeah, forever, for his entire film career, basically. So he has ideas in his own mind of what Luke Skywalker is. But that's not always going to align with the way that the story goes. So I think what really happened in this instance was that, Mark gets the script, he reads through it, and he's like, man, this is a different position that I thought Luke would be in. This is a different arc than I had first expected. Maybe he was a little resistant to it at first, but I think even, Mark himself came out on Twitter and responded to these articles saying, like, was I resistant to it at first? Yes, of course. Everybody has, ideas about their characters. But after I read through the entire script and after we finished making the movie, I absolutely loved the direction that Rian Johnson took.
Yeah, no, you're dead on, because even in this article, they kind of mentioned that, the character of Luke that we know from the original trilogy, he's kind of the gee golly, go lucky type of guy. Like, I'm going to do it, everybody. But the Luke now obviously is damaged, right? I mean, he's already failed in his mission to recreate the Jedi, predominantly at the hands of probably his own blood. Yeah. So it sounds like we're going to get a completely different Luke in The Last Jedi. He's not going to be the, hey, we can do this, and the light side's the best side. We're going to get someone that's maybe a little borderline eccentric, maybe a little eclectic, maybe a little nuts. Yeah, but he's not going to be the Luke we know from, the last time we saw him in Return of the Jedi, as far as actually participating and talking.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, too, the iconic scene from The Last Jedi was obviously the fight between Luke and Darth Vader on the Death Star, and at the end of that fight, I mean, you have the ultimate heroic Jedi moment where Luke is standing there, he has his father beaten, the Emperor is, seducing him literally to the dark side, kill him, become my apprentice, and he does like the ultimate Jedi move. He throws his lightsaber down and says, no, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. And that's the Luke that we were left with. It's this Luke that stood on the moral high ground, who had no bones about it. Like, the Jedi way is the best way, light side for life. And now we're getting a Luke that has, like you said, been through some of the worst times in his life.
Yeah, he's lived through some shit at this point.
So it's going to be a completely different Luke than we've ever seen before, and probably a completely different Luke than what Mark Hamill has been used to portraying. So It might have just been a big leap for him to have to, go from this idealistic, farm boy turned Jedi to now this older Jedi master who's watched his
He's
Jedi
jaded.
Academy.
I mean, let's face it. He's jaded as fuck at this point. I mean,
he's probably conflicted at some point.
He said it himself in the teaser. The Jedi need to go. I mean, he's clearly not Luke Skywalker from Return of the Jedi at this point. So I think that's going to be very exciting to see how Hamill approaches this new type of Luke. I mean, is he going to be kind of crazy? Is he going to be kind of weird? Or is he going to be cynical? Does he have a plan? Does he know about the First Order? Right? I mean, these are all things that I'm dying to find out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an incredible story arc for Luke Skywalker in this movie. There's so much to be covered just in this film alone, especially if this is going to be his last film within the trilogy. So,
I hope not. I know you've been not pulling for Luke's death, but you've been kind of predicting it since the Force Awakens. I mean, I kind of, especially with Carrie passing, I kind of hope Luke makes it through. And to kind of transition a bit, I don't know if you read this, Nick, but there's a section in this article where Carrie Fisher pretty much goes like, hey, Kathleen, now that you let Hamill essentially be the star of this movie, it's time to make me the star. And they go on to say, like, yeah, that was actually the plan for Episode 9, that Leia was going to be the main character. So, I mean, does that hint at the fact that maybe Luke was supposed to die and now he may not, to fill the void of Carrie Fisher's passing? How much is 9 now going to be affected when we know that she was supposed to be a very prominent character in that film? I mean, there's a lot of stuff to think about here.
Yeah, I mean, with that revelation alone, we assume that General Leia was going to make it through to Episode 9. I mean, basically, what the guessing game is for the old trilogy of characters in the new trilogy of movies was, like, who's dying and when, is basically what it comes down to. So now that we have this revelation that she was basically going to be, like, the main character within Episode 9, that we now understand why Rian Johnson had to come back and make some rewrites to Episode 9 and to the end of Episode 8 upon Carrie Fisher's passing. So yeah, I mean, it could be that there was a plan for, Luke to go out in 8 and then Carrie Fisher to make it through, or General Leia to make it through into 9 and then play the prominent role. I mean, it would make sense. So, I mean, now that that's happened, I would assume that you flip it. You would have to flip it. You'd have to have Leia go out in 8 and then Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
Well, even like you said, maybe Laura Dern's character now kind of takes some of the Leia scenes in 9 that Leia would have helmed, obviously, if Carrie didn't pass. But
yeah,
that's many years from now, my friends. We'll find out. I mean, we're still a few months away from The Last Jedi, but it'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, you know what would be really beautiful now that I'm thinking about it? Almost like a passing of a torch type moment in the movie itself, to from Leia to Laura Dern, and it almost might happen during her funeral. So
dude, if we think about the logistics though, how could they have done that? I mean, unless it was pre-planned.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think I'm just imagining the scene where it's there's, something happens to Leia. Leia dies in the film in some way, and then there's a funeral, and then on the stage speaking for General Leia, on behalf of General Leia, eulogizing her as Laura Dern's character, and then you see this moment where she becomes the new face of the Resistance, in essence.
It makes sense to me, but I could also see them just getting a voice clone and maybe reducing Leia to voice comms in Episode 9. I don't know. I mean, it's a very tough predicament they were put in, because clearly Carrie shot all her scenes for 8 and they pretty much considered it in the bag, but who knows if that in the bag is going to line up with the new Episode 9.
Yeah, exactly. I think it can't be, honestly. It cannot be.
Yeah, I don't see any way possible that things weren't changed dramatically to deal for Fisher's passing.
Yeah, I mean, they had just from that one.
At least in 9. I mean, I even think in 8 they're probably gonna have to tweak something to make 9 work.
I just don't understand how she can survive through this movie. Honestly, I think it would be doing her a disservice to say that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I just don't know how they do that. I really don't. I mean, I don't know how they do it unless they went and do a pickup real quick to, do her death over a radio or something.
I think it's got to be the best way to do it is to be she's getting on a craft, it takes off, and then it gets shot out the sky or it gets blown up mid-travel. Because how else are you going to do it?
I know, dude. I mean, I'm laughing at it because that's a cheap death for her, but you're right. I mean, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, you have to see the death
It has to be
screen.
done off camera, though. I mean, yeah, on screen, but we can't, actually see her die because I think, obviously, they didn't shoot that.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's going to be oh, she takes off and then boom, or over the radio, oh my God, the base is blown up. Ah!
Yeah, I mean, we're about, what is it, almost 6 months now out from finding out how it happens. So
yeah, I mean, we're talking days under 6 months, brother. We're almost there.
Yeah, we're almost there. So and I think that moment in the movie when it does happen is going to hold it's going to be very odd for all Star Wars fans to watch because we all know deep down that that's not how it was supposed to go. So as much as that is now going to be the canon of the movies, we're all going to know that's not what was supposed to happen in this movie. It's going to be a very weird moment in the theater for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, so some other things we got from this article is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we got the name of Kelly Marie Tran's character. Did we know that before?
We didn't. I don't think we did.
Okay, so her name is Rose. And apparently she has a sister, Paige, in the movie too, who has a conversation with Poe. But really the big thing here is that we now know that Rose and Finn are going to be the ones going to the Casino City Canto Bight, which is supposedly where we're going to meet DJ.
Yeah. So that was kind of the thought, or the, presumed, extra story thread that was going to be working through the movie alongside of Rey and Luke, and then Poe and BB-8 and whoever else is with Poe. So we heard about this storyline with Finn and Kelly Marie Tran's Rose character now, so they're going to be the ones on Canto Bight, and that should be a very interesting scene because we know they're going to see DJ, right? But why are they going to see him? That's the question. Exactly. Like, we had even speculated on a previous podcast that Kelly Marie Tran's character was going to be the one that had the contact with DJ. So, I mean, we ended up hitting that pretty well. And yeah, I mean, it just comes down to what do they need from this guy. He's definitely a squirrely character. I think, in a previous cast, he was probably described as somewhat of a, of like maybe a broker of information, a dealer of some sort of, rare materials that they need, something like that. So yeah, it's going to be up to Finn and Rose to get out of him whatever they need for the moment. That being said, did you see the image of the creatures or whatever that are supposed to be on Canto Bight? Like, yeah,
it's definitely, we're talking Mos Eisley type of shit going on here.
I don't know, like that one looks like everybody's like dressed to the nines.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's just say it's a more cultured Mos Eisley.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a hive of scum and villainy as much as it is, a
hive
of high class
rich assholes. Yeah, I mean, basically
exactly.
A bunch of fucking assholes that are rich.
Yeah, high class society for sure. But yeah, the creature design is very reminiscent of Mos Eisley for a lot of these characters, and this is honestly almost like 180 degrees from what I expected from this. When I heard a casino planet or a casino type of environment, I was thinking more along the lines of a Mos Eisley, like scoundrel characters,
almost
seedy.
like a Jabba's palace setting,
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like it's shady, but they're having fun, they're drinking, they're playing music.
But yeah, this looks like it's a black tie type of affair, though. I mean, they're all very fancy,
it's very high end casinos in Star Wars, people.
Yeah, 100% true there. But yeah, I'm I'm really interested to see where this scene goes and exactly how this infiltration plan goes for Finn and Rose, because they're gonna need to be either dressed as trying to infiltrate the party as whatever waiters or coat checkers or something like that, because I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a very interesting thread of this plot in The Last Jedi. Is like why. I think the why is answered. We know they're going to be there to find DJ, but why do they need him?
Exactly.
What does this character, who isn't classified as good or bad, he's kind of a. I mean, you'd almost have to classify him as a Han Solo in A New Hope, where his allegiances lie where the money is, right? And yeah. I kind of think DJ is a similar character.
Yeah, and I would be really interested to see if this character persists through this movie, because like you brought up a really good point.
Could he be a Lando, like a secondary that becomes somewhat of a prominent character in the third film? Yeah,
exactly. Like, we don't have that scoundrel type of character. We don't have that Han Solo presence now that Han Solo was killed in Episode 7.
That's a good point. So, maybe he's going to be our rogue.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy to
or he's not a bad or good guy, but once he sees what the Resistance up to, maybe he comes and joins the fight. Who knows? I mean, I feel like when you go out and get an actor of Del Toro's caliber, he's not just kind of a bit part type of guy.
Yeah, he's not a one-off for sure.
So I feel like he will probably be back in 9.
Yeah, definitely. It would make sense for both his character and Laura Dern's character to, move on to the next movie after this one as well.
All right, so one of the last big things I gleaned from this article, Nick, I don't know if you picked up on it or even paid much attention to it, but there's a picture of the First Order cast.
Yes.
And it clearly shows us Kylo, who's wearing somewhat of a new suit, right? He has more of a traditional cape now than his tattered Kylo Ren hood.
Yes, exactly.
Like, I don't even think he has a hood anymore. I just think he's wearing a fucking cape, and he's just letting his hair hang down now.
Yeah, letting it flow, letting the locks flow. But it's definitely a little different. You still have a similar kind of, I guess you would say,
the tunic. Yeah, the tunic looks very similar, but he seems like he's wearing a cape now versus a hooded shawl.
Yeah, 100%. That's true.
And we know his mask or his helmet is destroyed. I mean, either early on or somewhere through it, we're going to see the smashed Kylo helmet on the floor, and I think that's going to be the first time we see Kylo is going to be the shot of the helmet smashed out of his frustration. Yeah,
that would be good to see. I mean, that would be good to come back to him on, because obviously he's going to be dealing with a lot of mental strife after his loss on Starkiller Base to Rey, and then obviously
he's got to feel like a loser. I mean, he's got to feel like a loser.
I mean, yeah, you basically just got your ass kicked.
Right, well, I mean, think about Padawan. This. He going into that fight, he felt that by killing his dad that he would get all this, obscene dark side power, and clearly he didn't.
Yeah,
and he got his ass kicked by a noob. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be one very confused, if not unsure about himself person in The Last Jedi.
Oh, yeah, 100% for sure that's going to happen.
Or he'll just be hell-bent on finding Rey and killing her for making him look like a dope.
Yeah. I really think it could be a bit of both. Like, he's probably going to want to go back at her as soon as possible, but he may actually be held back, in a way, by Snoke saying, look, this girl beat you once with no training. We already know that she is probably, on her way to Luke Skywalker for, official training, so you may need to just cool your jets a little bit here, son. We got other stuff for you to do. So it's going to be interesting, the dynamic between, one, him and Snoke, and two, I mean, we already knew that him and General Hux had a contentious relationship just from their interactions in Episode 7. So to see how that goes now in Episode 8, that should be really interesting.
Yeah, another thing from this picture I found interesting is Gwendoline Christie in her Phasma outfit holding a pike.
Pike.
I mean, do you think we're going to see Phasma get some hand-to-hand?
I would imagine so, man. Like, she's such a badass character, and I really hope that they do her more justice than they did in Episode 7. Get her in some combat with some,
let's see her fight. Let's see her fight, even, gunfighting, but I want to see her with this staff.
Yeah, that would be a fucking excellent thing.
Maybe they didn't give it to her just for fun. I guess that's my point. There's a reason she's sporting this right now.
Dude, I hope that there's a showdown between her and Finn again. Because that's another relationship dynamic.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, those are perfect foils, if you will. I mean, Finn and Phasma. I mean, they had 2 interactions in the first film. There's no reason why they shouldn't have another.
Definitely. And then also, there's one image of Kylo on here. He's kind of standing by himself with his lightsaber raised in the air, and you actually get to see the continuation of the scar. And it actually takes up a big portion of
the left side of his face is very fucked up.
Yeah. So a lot of people were
up.
Yeah, a lot of people were pissed because in the trailer all we got to see was like the small part above the eyebrow, but now that you can see his full face, like, Rian Johnson didn't skimp out on the scar.
It goes from middle forehead all the way to his jawline.
Yeah.
Plus, there's even more like fucked up shit on that side of his face.
Yeah, it's definitely a nasty looking cut.
And, he looks good for a fucking crazy guy.
I know, right? He's still got the locks, though, dude. He's rocking that long hair.
Yeah, no, he's not giving that up. He's like his fucking grandfather, right? I mean, Anakin whipped the long look. I mean, all the Jedis back in that day used to whip it. I mean, I think Obi-Wan looked the most ridiculous with his mullet.
Yeah,
but at least Anakin went with just full-on long hair, and obviously Kylo is modeling as everything else in his life after his grandfather.
Yeah, and you see there was one pivotal moment with Anakin that a lot of people could really overlook in the prequel trilogy, and it was the moment where we finally got to see his eyes change to the Sith eyes. You remember, it was like right after he finished killing everybody on Mustafar, the Trade Federation, and he turns the camera and you get the close-up on his eye, and you're like, that's when you know the transformation is complete.
Yeah, like he almost like... Which is still kind of unexplained. Like, why haven't we seen any other... why aren't Kylo's eyes fucking yellow at this
Exactly,
point?
And that was the point that I want to bring up, is if we don't get something like that, then maybe that's like a hint to say, like, he hasn't...
Like, he can't... Like, he physically or mentally can't make the full transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the light side part of his Skywalker is still just as strong as his uncle's, to where... he, unlike his grandfather, he can't fully commit to the dark side.
Yeah, that was my thought, because that, like, I'm waiting for, like, this moment with Kylo to where it's either the full transition to the dark or the redemption to the light. And I think that's going to be a moment that can come in Episode 8, and we might get a similar scene if he does end up falling completely to the dark side, where we almost get something similar to that eye scene that we had with Anakin.
What if he starts shooting laser beams out of his eyes like Superman?
That would be
fucking Force eyes
power.
Yeah,
Snoke's like, oh my god.
Yeah, Cyclops power.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You know what'd be cool is if he can finally channel lightning. I mean, we've never seen anybody channel lightning aside from the Emperor.
True.
Movies.
Oh, Dooku. I mean, Dooku.
Oh yeah, Dooku. Yeah, true, Dooku.
I would be down for that. I mean, again, he's not by definition Sith, but I don't think that matters. I mean, I think Force lightning anyone can use if they know how to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Luke could use it if he would allow himself to, but I think it's such a strong evil power that the light side just kind of casts it aside.
Yeah, it's like
it's nothing like we even are going to bother learning.
Exactly. Yeah, it has like this way of corrupting one's Force essence once you use it. But yeah, man, I mean, there's a lot of really interesting relationship dynamics that are going to go on in Episode 8, and I'm really curious to see the relationship between, obviously, Rey and Luke, and then I really want to see the relationship between Laura Dern's new character, Vice Admiral Amilyn Holdo, and General Skywalker.
No, I think she got way more important due to Carrie's passing.
Yeah, exactly.
I do. I think you're on to something there, that she may have to fill that void in 9. But hey, we'll have to find out. And you know what, people? This is a short one for us. Maybe you should thank us. Maybe you can hate us if you like our longer cast. But we got to wrap things up. That's all we really needed to talk about anyways, was go through that Variety article. I mean, there's been little things that come up this week. Nick, I don't know if you saw where Adam Driver's like, I wanted nothing to do with Mark Hamill. That's just how I have to prepare for my role, because I guess Mark wanted to meet him for lunch because they were going to have some screen time together. And Adam's like, nah, dude, I mean, I can't be your friend whatsoever because I need to just stay within my character. Yeah. But outside of that, we haven't really gotten much besides this Vanity Fair article. So hey, it was a short one, people. Take it for what it is. We'll be back next Friday if we have to do one, or within the next 2 weeks at a regular time. So anything else you got to add, Nick, or are we going to shut this thing down?
I think we covered it. Yeah, I mean, there weren't a lot of substantial things to drop outside of this Vanity Fair article. Obviously, this was the big thing over the last 2 weeks. So I think we covered it. If you haven't read it, go read it. Go read it. It's a good piece. It has some excellent images in it. I mean, really high-res photos taken.
Yeah, it's Annie Leibovitz. I mean, if you know who she is, you understand the quality you get. I mean, I think I could take these pictures, but she's famous, so good for her.
Exactly. So, yeah, go give it a read. Go check out the images. And yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks, or yeah, like you said, Matt, maybe next week if something big drops.
Yeah, you never know. And we're also we're thinking about branching out into other geeky films, other TV franchises. So as long as you're subscribed to the best podcast for Star Wars fans and pop culture geeks, which you can do on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Android. We're all over the place. You're going to get our latest cast, so please subscribe. We love you for it, and we're here to bring all things geek to you with a special emphasis on Star Wars. All right, everyone, you know what time it is. It's time to wish you to have the Force with you at all times, right? We want the Force to be with you always. Have fun. We'll talk to you again here in